We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
With Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, everybody. It is Reality Rants. I am Jason Bermas. It is brought to you by redvoicemedia.com. Remember, redvoicemedia.com/uncensored is where you're going to get 2 bonus interviews every week and support the broadcast, and RVM Rumble.com is where you're going to find the second hour uncensored. Obviously, yesterday, even though Matt Orfelia is able to put that up on YouTube, Jason Bermas can't play what he's put on YouTube. Another clip today you're going to see in the second hour regarding the ever authoritative source of the WHO and its chief scientist and, executive director saying things that if I played them saying it, despite the fact that they are the authoritative source, even though they're the end all be all, I play them saying what they say in the second hour, okay, and then I get in trouble because it goes against the great narrative, okay? Has nothing to do with what's factual. It's who's saying it, how you're saying it, how effective you are. And that also talks really to the shadow banning across the board of not only myself, but others. Okay? When you don't buy into the left-right paradigm and you report on things like this on both sides, billionaire Peter Thiel, somebody that we've been concerned with in the past on this program, reportedly had several meetings scheduled with Jeffrey Epstein, according to email records. Oh! Old Petey and Jeffy. And at this point, with the amount of revelations that have come out via Epstein and his network, you really do wonder if you could be in the upper echelons of the tech industry in particular in the mid-2000s all the way up until his arrest, really, and not have met or been associated in some way with Jeffrey Epstein. And herein lies this ludicrous idea of a list. Now, by all accounts, so far that I have seen, Jeffrey Epstein was involved in the trafficking of women and young girls. Now, there may be more to the story. I remember Donnie Deutsch over there, MSNBC style, mentioned something about little girls, little boys, islands. I don't know anything about the little boys. Yeah, I've heard some speculation here and there, blah, 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 blah. But this should tell everybody that we need to know the business associations of Epstein in particular, on top of who he may have trafficked, how he was trafficking people, the blackmail aspect, and then the other deals. See, the business deals matter too. So there is no list. There's no client list. That's not real. That doesn't mean that Peter Thiel should be given a pass because it would appear, obviously, that Epstein wasn't trafficking young girls to him, right? I mean, with these new revelations coming out almost daily via the Virgin Islands case, you're finding out Chomsky, money, meetings. Is it more? Maybe. Maybe not. So, something to keep in mind. In the second hour, I'm going to be showing a clip of Peter Thiel being confronted at Bilderberg by Luke Rudkowski of We Are Change, Real Journalism on the Ground. And you can kind of decide what you think about Peter Thiel's answer about being at Bilderberg. And to his credit, he stops. He gives about a 60-second response. It's well thought out, okay? You can see that he is annoyed in the beginning, even though Luke is extremely polite, that he's even going to have to do this, that he's even going to have to talk to the surf class. He presents at places like Oxford University when he speaks. He's Peter Thiel. His libertarian values. And again, props to Luke. It's why I love Luke, man. That's going to come up in the second hour. We're also going to play a clip of their quote-unquote historian and Bilderberg attendee, Neil Ferguson. He is again there this year. I believe from either 2016 or 2017 with Brian Lamb via C-SPAN. Really insightful clip, kind of talking about these networks, and not only the Bilderberg group in particular, but the university system. And even then, we're talking about 7 years ago now, this uprising of Chinese social systems and the networks there that are integrating with the Western networks. This, quote unquote, is a new world, the new world order. Okay? Global, inspect. The whole deal. So we're going to read, I'm probably going to read the full insider piece on Thiel, on Epstein. Second hour, we're going to get more into Thiel, more into Bilderberg. And I probably missed this story because I think it originated on the 18th or 19th last week because I was so heavy into Bilderberg. And I'll just admit it, right now in my feed, I would say that more of the conservative stuff is coming up. And I did find this in my feed, by the way. Unless I'm like directly tagged in something like this, I might miss it. And that's not to say I don't scour news sources. I do, but you know, one of my big aggregates is always the Daily Mail. I saw this nowhere, and apparently this came out right around the time that we started learning. Oh, Billy Boy Gates had a 20-year-old bridge-playing Ruski girlfriend. The Russians might have gotten to Bill Gates. You notice how that's not a mantra? Here he is with a 20-year-old Russian. How many years ago? And there's not even a discussion that the Russians may have gotten to him. Can you imagine if... I'm not even going to talk about Donnie T. Let's say one of his younger sons, even though Bill Gates and Donnie T... probably closer in age than one of his sons. But let's go with Don Jr., Eric, whatever. Pick your poison. And they were dating a 20-year-old Russian. That's it. Case closed. Case closed. It's the poot puppet system. That's where we'd be at. By the way, Dmitry Medvedev, former president over there, and certainly an ally of Putin, he's straight up saying, you know, the more the United States funds this war, sends over weapons, refuses to de-escalate, they push us closer and closer daily to the possibility of nuclear Armageddon or the apocalypse. And I don't like talking like that, but here we are in La La Land, and acting like that's not the case. It's the case. And these psychopaths meeting behind closed doors didn't even have a representative on the other side. Meanwhile, Ukraine, China, Russia, U.S. leadership, all on the table this year, along with AI at the top. AI, another reason to look at Thiel, another reason to look at the fact that Yuval Noah Harari, not on the list. Some reason in Lisbon, Portugal. I'm sure he was there for the crepes. I'm sure he didn't just go to the Bilderberg meeting. And that's the thing. Someone needs to get him on the record now on that one. Because I'm sick of this, pitter-pat game. Oh, we're going to be nice to Yuval Noah Harari in some of these alternative circles. I see him taking pictures, buddies with Russell Brand. And look, Brand's done a lot of good work in the past few years especially. But that's not a pass on that guy. I'm sorry. You certainly want to reach out and have viewpoints, but he's sitting up at Davos giving speeches, talking about the fourth industrial revolution, doing interviews with TED and TEDx, saying that you and I feel uncomfortable. And he goes, hey, by the way, this is just a theory of his. This is just a theory. He would need some more time to look at it academically. But the theory is that a lot of us, even subconsciously, whether we'd like to admit it, realize we're about to be automated out. That the upper class, the predator class, the people truly in charge through nepotistic bloodlines now for centuries have always needed manpower. Oh my God, Jason, did you say manpower? You bigot. Yeah, no, they exploited the women too. That was what feminism was all about. Let's tax the other half of the populace. Let's break up the nuclear family further. Woo-hoo-hoo! Forget about that one person working in a family of 5, owning their home, having 2 cars, not being in debt. No. Let's erode that system. So yeah, man and women toil. Yeah, that they don't need us anymore. And Harari's like, we're not part of the next chapter of the human story. And a lot of people are feeling that. And they would be right, he says. They would be right. So whether you've come to grips or terms with that, that's real. That's how the predator class feels about the rest of us. They don't need us. And if you don't think Mr. Thiel, the guy who's running herpes trials illegally on, I think, islands or places in the third world. And let's type that in so people don't think I'm just making it up. Vaccine. Peter Thiel. All right, let's see what he says here. Bucking the FDA, Peter Thiel funds patently unethical herpes vaccine trial. That's all the way back in 2017. We've been following you a while, Peter. And that kind of goes to this idea of Jeffrey Epstein, also very heavily involved in technology and what appears to be eugenics. So these people are invested in the biomedical future all over the place. And a guy like Peter Thiel isn't going to be regulated. Yeah, he's a multi-billionaire with connections everywhere on the steering committee of Bilderberg, in which more of the media is inside than outside reporting. Because you know what? The only people outside reporting are independent, other than Skelton, who Skelton is really independent, but somehow, some way, through his comedy connections and media connections, was able to write something for The Guardian. They've been good enough to at least allow him to do so over the last decade. Props to Charlie. Again, that piece is must read. So we're in a situation where, for instance, The Atlantic and Bloomberg are inside. The university system is inside. Guys like Ferguson are inside. And when we get to The Atlantic, the head of The Atlantic, there's a clip going around right now of him on C-SPAN, by the way, warmongering, because that's what warmongers in the media do. Warmongering. Saddam Hussein, al-Qaeda, connection. No connection. Warmongering. We're going to play that clip, read the article on the flip side of this break right here. So buckle up.
Have you heard of Executive Order 14067? This little-known order implemented the digital dollar, the most sinister plan to control your spending. And it gets worse. In November, the federal government and banks began a test program to roll out the digital dollar. With this, privacy for all Americans will be lost forever. Imagine, the government can now track all of your spending. The government can tell you what you can and can't buy. The government could confiscate your cash. When digital currency was rolled out in China, Bloomberg wrote, quote, "This will lead to control like no other," end quote. The EU has announced that they are next, but it is already happening in America, which makes this wealth protection guide that American Alternative Assets just put out even more urgent. Project Hamilton, as this secret order is being called, might be the scariest order to happen to privacy and freedom in America since its founding, which makes this wealth protection guide so incredibly valuable right now. Move your money out of cash and into something that doesn't infringe on your privacy. You see, there is one legal IRS-proof loophole that could protect your IRA, 401k, and pension savings with gold and silver. And this free guide tells you exactly which steps you need to take right now to move part of your IRA or 401k into precious metals with no tax consequences. As this program rolls out, the sky's the limit for the level of government control that could be enforced on your money. Protect your savings and your privacy. But in the devastation ahead, American Alternative Assets is offering you something rare, a chance to protect your wealth and possibly even grow it.
All right, folks. I got a little Tipsky and Hutch over here before we play that clip. TD, laying the prison bricks through propaganda acceptance. Gary Null. Jason, thank you for the truths being told. I really do appreciate that, TD, for the support there. So let's play this clip right here of the head of the Atlantic back in the day, fear-mongering for the Iraq War, weapons of mass destruction, Al-Qaeda and Saddamski and Hutch, all bull snap. They fail upwards because it's not a failure, it's a win. Because the wars happened, the military-industrial complex made the mucho dinero, the surveillance state here grew, all right, which then gets inverted and turned on the American people more and more and more as it expands through the Patriot Act, Homeland Security, the fusion centers, now signature reduction, and lo and behold, we got 19-year-old kids that ain't white being called white supremacists driving U-Hauls towards the Capitol or the White House or whatever. And U-Haul seems to be empty. Plan doesn't seem to be great. Hey, there's a Nazi flag there. I mean, and that's the biggest threat. Some 19-year-old kid with a bad milk mustache and a little scraggles, he's the big threat. And he's a white supremacist, even if he's not white. Hey, and I think, was it the Atlantic? Let's type. I think it's the Atlantic that has this headline. And please tell me this. It's white supremacy is now a multiracial movement. Okay? Listen, so that I didn't find that headline. It's almost better I didn't. The Atlantic's top one, Latinos can be white supremacists. Now, I don't even know if this latest guy's Latino, but, you know, the Hispanic shooter, so everybody can be, how white supremacy returned to mainstream politics in 2020. They've been just really getting you going. Understanding multiracial whiteness and Trump supporters. Well, thank you, NPR. I need to understand that because it sounds like a whole lot of Johnny nonsense. A whole lot of Johnny nonsense right there. Why some non-white Americans espouse right-wing beliefs. Across the far right spectrum, people of color play a more, what's it got to say? What's this? Man, this is going to be too much, right? It's just going to be too much. People of color play a more visible role. First of all, when you call everything that challenges the norm far right, when people are calling Twitter some kind of far right extremist, I saw that I think it was, again, Nonsense from The Atlantic. They're talking about right-wing white nationalists, and that's Twitter now. What are they on? Truth Social and Rumble. Ooh, by the way, Peter Thiel invested in Rumble as well. We have to say that. Are they freer on the speech than YouTube? By far. Again, YouTube should be sued for calling me harmful content and saying I hurt viewers. I harmed viewers. I've never harmed a viewer in my life. That is defamation. But these guys got endless bank accounts. Twitter, even now, doesn't have to turn a profit, right? The Muskernuts is talking about how it was failing with all that money and how they need to do this, turn a profit. They're not. He's not worried about it. It's an awesome Trojan horse civilian system for narrative management. Same thing with YouTube. Doesn't really turn a profit. Doesn't have to. The profit is in controlling the narrative and pushing twerking and cat videos. That's the profit. When that's what you're concerned with, that's the money maker shaker. You get it? So they play this clip. This guy failed up to the head of The Atlantic now, spouting bullshiz like this is.
The piece of news that's come from this story that some people have been talking about is the following. When I was in Kurdistan, I started hearing a lot about a Muslim fundamentalist terror group called the Ansar al-Islam, which means supporters of Islam, operate in the corner of Kurdistan, al-Qaeda influenced ideologically.
And by the way, when we attacked Syria, totally unjustly, we worked, when I say we, the United States military industrial complex openly worked with Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda. Do you see what a conundrum this is? And that group itself, the base, comes out of the Mujahideen, which we supported with our buddy Bin Laden when the Ruskies were the enemy again then. The more things change, the more they stay the same. And they find this guy over here with his glasses and his pseudo-intellectual Johnny Nonsense appearance. And, well, if you look at this, and the Al-Qaeda-like network can obviously influence Saddam Hussein, we need to bomb and kill people.
Logically, run by a group of Kurds and Arabs who have cycled through Osama's training camps.
Oh, yeah.
It's been assumed that this group is Al-Qaeda influenced even.
It's assumed it's Al-Qaeda influenced, right? ISIS-like later. When Al-Qaeda wasn't doing the trick, they just changed. And remember, it wasn't just ISIS. At one point, they're like, maybe we're not going to go with ISIS. Maybe we're just going to go with IS or ISIL. Throw some Libya action in there.
Al-Qaeda directed. What I found, and I can go into it a little bit if you want, how I found this out, is that there are serious allegations that the group is actually co-sponsored, if you will, by Al-Qaeda and by Saddam's intelligence agency. And I found a number of other heard a number of other credible allegations.
I heard a lot of people saying, I'm going to say they're credible. He was at the New Yorker at this point. I'm Jeffrey Goldberg. Yes.
That Saddam and Al-Qaeda have actually been working together on any number of projects. And if these allegations are true, obviously, the implications are quite serious.
The implications are quite serious. Even there, they always save their own ass, and they give themselves an out. They say it's alleged. A lot of lawyers speak behind the scenes. Just want to point that out there as well. A lot of liggity lawyers speak. I'm going to read this Peter Thiel Business Insider report connecting Jeffrey Epstein to Thiel. And again, I'm wondering, the more this stuff comes out, was there anybody at the upper echelons of tech that wasn't involved with Epstein? I know that the Muskernuts is denying it right now, but he's got a subpoena too. And again, I've seen the media going after Elon today because DeSantis is going to be announcing his presidency on the platform, possibly with Musk on Twitter Spaces. I hate Twitter Spaces. They do get some, sometimes I'm watching 9,000 people, even on a smaller account, listening to a Twitter Space. I don't know if I should do one or not. The thing I don't like is that I got to do it through the phone. And I guess that I could go and use one of my phones that has a 3.5 jack still in it, connect to the internet and hook it through my board and use it that way. And that way people could hear more and I could do kind of my show. But I hate the fact that I've got to do it through that. If I could do it through my microphone and then play clips audio style the correct way, I would use it. But I think it's a piss poor platform right now. People love it. People love it for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just old. I'm out of the times. By the way, thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. Not even 100 thumbs up over on YouTube. I want to remind everybody, second hour coming up quicker than you think. RVMRumble.com is where you're going to find that second hour. Again, if you want to support the broadcast, we got all sorts of goodies up there. 2 extra interviews a week. Coming up this week, it's going to be Jamie Deluxe. Already got that one in the bag. And then it's going to be Richard Andrew Grove will be our second interview from Grand Theft World, somebody who's done some really great work in the alternative media now for well over a decade. Somebody I believe I met back in 2006 at one of the very first 9/11 conferences. Great guy. Clay Clark, his interview, that's coming up in the second hour for free. That's on the second half of the second hour. Not going to want to miss that. Great discussion about AI, the Muskernuts, Bilderberg, Yuval Noah Harari, and more. So the second hour is also jam-piggity-packed. You're going to want to come over for it. All right, let's get this thing going. Peter Thiel likely met with the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein several times in 2014, according to a recent report from the New York Times. The publication said it reviewed email reminders from Epstein's assistant for the events. Where are these raw documents that the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal keep getting? If you're out there, and these are out on Court Listener or anywhere, please send them to me in the DMs. I'd like to look at them. We'd like to read them here. That would be fantastic. The email records were obtained through an information request in the U.S. Virgin Islands lawsuit against Epstein's estate, according to the Times. So, I know that this is an ongoing case with the U.S. Virgin Islands. This is the big one right now. This is at least the biggest one yet because it's showing you the business transactions after he had been convicted. And they all knew it. They all knew it was a big joke to these people. So at the very least, you have these people being okay with dealing with somebody because they have billions, despite the fact they're involved in child trafficking and abuse and a convicted abuser. It's a problem. That's really how the world works. And it's funny when Thiel gets asked by Luke kind of about this meeting, he, in my opinion, inverts reality and says we should be able to meet in private, and it was the Stasi that didn't want people to meet in private. And this is where we have the best conversations. No, this is where the backdoor unaccountable deals are formed and made. It's a problem. The lawsuit was settled last year after Epstein's estate agreed to pay the U.S. Virgin Islands more than $105 million over claims Epstein had used an island in its territory for a sex trafficking operation. So this is a closed one with the islands. So many of these going on right now. So that's 105. Remember, Deutsche Bank just settled for $70 million. $70 million. And not even, don't get me wrong, a good number of victims are part of that. But a minuscule one when we look at the reign of Epstein, horror and terror over the decades. Horror and terror. And we need to look at all of the business associates once again and see what they were doing. This goes well beyond and outside of any quote-unquote lists that are imagination land. What was he funding? Who was he involved with? Why is a guy like Thiel, Palantir, PayPal, Facebook involved with Epstein. We're going to read more on the flip side of this commercial break. Give it to us, Mike.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets, sleepwear, dog beds.
Whoa, Charles. Everyone now can get MyPillow products at huge discounts at MyPillow.com. That's right. Now's the time to go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our 3-in-1 sale. We're bringing you exciting new products, overstock specials, and closeout deals you won't find anywhere else. For example, when you buy one of our brand new MyPillow 2.0s, you get another one absolutely free. And with our overstock sale, you save 50% on our luxurious Giza Dream bed sheets. That's as low as $29.99 for the best sheets ever. And with our biggest closeout special, you get our all-season slippers for only $35. Or our sandals and slides for just $25. Quantities are limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Use the promo code RVM because I interrupted that commercial. Okay. 2 more segments in the first hour. Remember, RVMRumble.com. That's where you're going to find the full second hour free and streaming. We stream until 8:30 p.m., 9 to 8:30, almost 12, Monday through Thursday. I'm live at 9 a.m., perky as ever. Perky, you know, I got to tell you, when we were doing it at 8 a.m. Eastern time, a little bit rough, a little bit rougher, especially when I'm not getting to sleep. I'm not, asleep till 2, 3 in the morning, sometimes just tossing and turning, and then it's like 2 hours groggy. Now when that happens, I get the extra hour, and honestly, that's enough. And I do feel a lot better. I am happy that it did get pushed back. And I like being able to get up, get this out of the way. And if there is anything else that's big, if I have to go live, I can go live later on. But it also, lets me prepare for the next day and gives me a little while to look at stories and not just jump on bandwagons to whatever's happened in the news cycle that day. Right? That's important. Because you miss stories like this. The Times reported that Epstein's assistant sent reminders for 3 separate meetings in September of 2014, including a one-on-one event or meals with multiple individuals. Thiel was also on a list of people that Epstein should try to make time for while in New York, according to the report. The publication said it isn't known whether Thiel attended all of the meetings mentioned in the emails because some of them were marked to be determined. Thiel did not respond to a request for comment from Insider, and a spokesperson for the billionaire declined to comment for the Times. The billionaire is one of several that have reported ties to Epstein, who died in 2019. Epstein once told a New York Times reporter that Musk had approached him in 2018 about how to manage issues with the SEC and warned that he and Tesla would deny any involvement if it ever became public. A Musk spokesperson told Insider at the time that the claims were false. So there's yet another allegation, that one allegedly from Epstein himself, that there is an Epstein-Muskernuts connection. There's a picture of the Muskernuts with Ghislaine Maxwell. He says that's a photobomb. There's an article out there that claims the Zuckerberg was approached by the Muskernuts to introduce him to Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay? Who do you trust? No one. Trust no one. Trust your gut. But don't just trust your gut because you've been lied to and tricked so many times and the antithesis or the conspiracy is always true or they're always lying to you. Have some discernment. Have some discernment. Look at as many angles as possible. What puzzle pieces can you fit together? Actually do your own research. I know that was a big part of the Matt Orfella piece that we played yesterday with nobody is safe until everybody is safe. Nobody is safe until everybody is safe. Don't do your own research. Don't go down any rabbit holes. Why doing your own research is bad. I mean, that's how crazy the propaganda got. I'm a proud do your own research guy for the last 20 years. Saying it long before it was a mantra. When the New York Times did their little hit piece on me, And loose change, that was one of the questions that was asked when I was on their podcast, The Daily, about the do your own research. I go, that is what I hope our legacy is, that we told people to think for themselves and look into things for themselves. I think it was Jimmy Dore that recently said, back in the day, do your own research just kind of meant reading. Kind of still what it means. Only it's not just reading, because you have access to a plethora of photographic and video material on top of the written literature. It's quite awesome, actually. And it's a tool that we as human beings should be using more often, but we're constantly discouraged and shamed when we do. Isn't it odd? Like, as you're growing up, and if you accelerate in academics, of course, there's this pressure where you're being picked on, possibly by your peers. Now, maybe that's an insecurity on their part, but many people then feel isolated and not as motivated to pursue academia in the manner that they once were, okay? That's a big deal. That has to be acknowledged, and it's not acknowledged enough. And that continues throughout society now. It's like, oh, bro, you watching Friends? You see Breaking Bad? Okay, great shows. There's always time for that. Time to just kind of sit back and relax. That's important. But when that becomes the only thing, and then they tell you when the important things you're not allowed to look up how many times Ross and Rachel broke up all you want, let's not look too hard into the business associates of Jeffrey Epstein. Don't do your own research there. No. Don't do your own research into how the guy committed suicide twice in a prison system, MCC, that hadn't had a suicide in 13 years before that. Twice. Two time. Earlier this week, Musk was subpoenaed by the Virgin Islands in its lawsuit against JP Morgan. Okay, so that's it. So I guess the Virgin Islands has just multiple suits across the board against estates and banks. And I guess that's why Deutsche Bank settled. The government said Musk is a high net worth individual who Epstein may have referred or attempted to refer to JP Morgan. Musk called the subpoena idiotic on Twitter. That cretin never advised me on anything whatsoever, Musk said. The notion that I would need or listen to financial advice from a dumb crook is absurd. Google co-founder Sergey Brin was also subpoenaed in the lawsuit, and other big tech names, including Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates and LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman, have also been tied to Epstein. So I'll say it again. It seems to be the anomaly in the tech world that you didn't have business with Epstein. Okay? Just pointing that out. Scooting over to the Muskernuts really quick before we play this grilling, I believe, of an Australian authority official talking about censorship. And it's the same plausible deniability circle here in the United States where they say, well, there's nothing in an official capacity. We didn't pass any laws. But yeah, the whole thing is redacted. The whole thing is redacted on how our government agencies censored you via social media. But none of it was like, lawful. It's wild. It's wild, but it's where we're at in the Western world, because it's not just Chinese-style censorship anymore. It's just censorship. It's globalism. It's the great narrative. Bizarre photos of Elon Musk kissing a robot leave the internet baffled. But all is not as it seems. Oh, it seems to me that it's pretty obvious when I look at these things and the resolution on them. These are the new AI fakes. Okay? These are the new AI fakes. And I've been talking a lot about AI recently, especially Hollyweird. We did a big thing on it yesterday. Where those are going to be videos soon, and they're going to be even better than that. They're going to be easy to produce. In fact, I turned on my Photoshop because I pay for the Adobe suite for $60 a month. And lo and behold, they've now introduced AI generation. I'm going to have to get good at it. Like, that's going to be another tool in it. And I just saw just a quick demo of, very quickly in an email of what the AI generation is. pretty stunning. I was about to get Mid-Journey anyway after my interview with Zach Voorhees, the Google whistleblower. So, as I stated before, AI going to be pushed more, especially in the Hollywood entertainment system where they're trying to get rid of human beings. Okay, and this is actually a video of the Wire creator, David Simon. I'd rather put a gun in my mouth than use AI. And he's been out with the Writers Guild protesting quite a bit. Something he said last week.
Like any of those other research material, is a derivative form. It's feeding, like you're feeding all the crap into a computer and saying, give me a generically sound cop show like every other stinking cop show done, or a medical show, or law show. And that derivative work is never going to break ground. It's never going to bring new viewers to a place where they feel like they're, you know, it's basically like buying a Xerox copy of a print and putting it on your wall. Yeah, you know, that's Starry Night, that's Guernica, but nobody's going to really look at it with the same hard look that they would give an actual painting. And so I don't mind the idea of it as a toolbox for writers, but don't have a studio telling me, look, we ran it through the algorithm and this is our favorite AI and this will make a cop show that will maximize our viewership. Because in the short term, you might fool some people into watching 10 episodes of crap, but over time, the viewership for that is going to diminish. There's always been a certain amount of derivative crap in television. There always will be. But there was also the running room to create something new. And it's only in the last 20 or 30 years when they got rid of the advertising and went to a pay cable model that people started taking television, particularly, I'm a television writer, seriously, like film. Because all of a sudden you didn't have to appease advertisers. You didn't have to try for every last viewer, no matter whether they were folding their laundry or not paying attention. You know, you could actually write an adult story for adults. So some people said this was a great age for television because all of a sudden the medium grew up. If you give it over to AI, you're going to infantilize it again. And that's not to say that AI can't be like a quick and dirty tool and give writers some bounce back while they're working. But if you're talking about real writing, and if you're talking about real storytelling, and if you're talking about growing the medium, and ultimately growing the audience, you're going to need human beings to say, wait, I thought of something new that I haven't seen. And you know, that's the guts of storytelling.
You know, I like David Simon. He's obviously a legend when it comes to adult television, The Wire being, you know, one of those shows that I guess broke ground. I wasn't big on The Wire. And by the way, my man Big Fish just sent me a Thiel. Big Fish is at Trey Billion over at Twitter. A Thiel thread. We'll be checking that out. Maybe even going over some of it tomorrow. But I think the larger issue here with artificial intelligence in Hollywood is you're not really hearing about it that much. That's certainly not the focus of what they're telling you is going on with the Writers Guild. And this is coming at a time when they're clamping down on streaming services, right? Netflix is saying no more Sherry passwords. So I'm not exactly sure how they're going to enforce that, but I think it's going to be IP address integration. I know HBO Max just turned into Max, and a bunch where people were extremely upset because their smart TVs didn't have the app yet, and you couldn't update the app. Ooh. Disney getting rid of shows on their streaming services that don't have a hard copy release that they produce so they don't have to pay people residuals. People are going to be worked out of the system. And in large part, I do agree with David Simon that you lose the human element of storytelling once you go into the AI. And yes, AI could be a toolbox for writers. That is correct, but they're going to move you out no matter what. And look, there's always been a majority of derivative crap on the air that's non-original, that is cookie cutter or based around some of the, again, we talked about Friends. If Friends wasn't like the cookie cutter 80s moving into the 90s hip sitcom, again, it's got the laugh track, it heavily took from the early 80s, in my opinion. It's almost like it also took from Saved by the Bell and said, hey, let's take them from high school kids and their outer world into apartment life in an urban city, and we're going to run with that, and let's go. We're going to play this Australian interaction with their authoritarians after this word from our sponsor. Remember, final hour coming up over at RVMRumble.com.
Folks, we have a huge problem on our hands. A banking crisis is spiraling, and it's all thanks to the current administration's reckless spending, sky-high inflation, and massive interest rate hikes. Now, these banks are suffering, and guess what? They can legally seize your savings without notice to bail themselves out. That's right. Thanks to a sneaky law passed back in 2008, it's now legal for banks to take your hard-earned money, including your retirement savings, to save themselves. Now, this could leave your retirement accounts decimated, and you paying the price for their disastrous policies. Take action now before it's too late. Now, this guide will show you how to defend your money and keep your retirement savings safe from the banking crisis and the current administration's financial fiasco. This simple and 100% legal strategy may help you protect your retirement against higher taxes, soaring inflation, and a volatile economy. So don't let your golden years be ruined by someone else's mistakes. To secure your free wealth protection guide and safeguard what's rightfully yours, don't wait. The time to act is now.
All right, final segment in the first hour. Again, RVMRumble.com is where you're going to be able to find the second hour. It's got the stream going on it, or just go subscribe over at Rumble. And if you're on YouTube right now, let's thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. Let people know about the broadcast when we're live, 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday. I saw some people out there going, I didn't think you went live on Friday. Sometimes I go live on Friday. Sometimes I go live on Thursday evening with John Fitch. We do the mixed martial mindset thing where we absolutely cover the tough issues. It's a little bit shorter, but we also talk about MMA, one of my passions out there, because again, there has to be time for us to unwind, and sports isn't inherently evil. In fact, I would argue that especially in your youth, when you're in team sports, it's an essential and important part of growing up properly for numerous reasons. I got one more story I don't want to forget to hit up in this segment before we go to this clip. Big story, not seeing it everywhere. Keep forgetting your ID on nights out. Your iPhone can now double up as a digital driver's license in these 4 states. You don't think they're moving you into digital and a social credit score and an app? Arizona, Colorado, Georgia, Maryland. Boom. There it is. You can now get your ID on there, and these things are going to be spoofed all over the place. I'm just showing you right now they're moving in this direction. They're all in on automation. They're all in on AI. They're all in on the QR codes. They're all in on the apps, and they want to put it under your skin next. They want to turn their track, trace, database society into one of biomimetics, of even more eternal digital slavery. Just throwing that out there. Okay. Powerful clip coming up. Let's do it. And again, dude, what is going on? It's the second time this week that this has happened. Happened yesterday. So now we got to go to my Twitter again. And the fact that these are downloading without the audio all of a sudden, makes me mad. Makes me mad. Let's go to twitter.com, especially when I have it all set up for this right here. But no. Why would anything be able to be easy? Nothing's easy. We work through it. Here we go.
I have a document here in front of me called the Online Content Incident Arrangement Procedural Guidelines. Documents provided to me on Friday under Freedom of Information. It's a document that's been redacted, all 28 pages thereof. This is dated version 1.3 November 2022. Who is this arrangement with?
So that's an internal procedural instruction to our staff about how to go about their engagement with the technology companies, Meta and companies of that nature.
You know, Meta, Facebook, companies of that nature. You know, anything online where we want to censor your ass.
Mr. Roy will come forward, head of our counterterrorism centre, so that gives instruction and guidance to our staff.
Oh, the counterterrorism centre. But all 28 pages are redacted. I wonder if the Australians, like the Americans here, have all of a sudden designated a bunch of people who are terrorists who might not be.
It doesn't form, when you say an arrangement with, it doesn't form a legal or agreement.
But there is an arrangement with social media companies.
There's an arrangement outside of the remit of the Online Safety Act. So I'll just go through this in components. The Parliament, of course, has legislated, in some cases, direct legal powers that fall to the e-Safety Commissioner. She can use powers in very particular circumstances under the Online Safety Act. Some of those assist us in our mission in terms of countering terrorist and violent extremist content.
Oh, okay, TVAC. Terrorist or violent extremist content. We decide who's violent and extremist and harmful and what that content is. And not only do we decide it, we don't even really tell you how we decide it in our legalese, because we black that out. Yeah.
TVEC, to use the acronym. And then a number of agencies and departments that operate in this space where the legal thresholds of the Online Safety Act are not triggered, have got arrangements in place whereby if we see something, for instance, that might not quite fit or meet the thresholds of the Online Safety Act, where we can engage through mutual benefit with those companies to say there's abhorrent material or there's terrorist content or there's extremist content, and according to your own conditions, whether it's Facebook or one of the other major technology providers, you may wish to consider a takedown outside of the remit.
You may wish to consider it. Again, they act like they don't have any legal power. And everybody passes the buck. And then Facebook says, well, we were contacted by the Australian government, so we wanted to comply. Did we legally have to comply? Well, you know.
Of the Online Safety Act. And I think it's fair to say, Mr. Roy, that document is a procedural instruction to our own staff about how to both trigger those arrangements and how to go through the steps that are mandated.
Okay, so and when did this arrangement with social media companies first kick off?
Do you have the history, Mr. Roy?
I do, Senator. The OCIA was first established in around...
You might just spell out the acronym on first usage.
Online Content Incident Arrangement was established, I think, in early 2020.
Now, I just want to say this. That organization might have been in early 2020. Early 2020. They've been regulating the internet long before that. They talked about multiple agencies. These were extensions of the things that were already in place 100%. Same thing in this country.
In part as a response to the Christchurch attack, where there was a significant online element, as you'll no doubt remember. And so it is, as the Secretary rightly says, a non-binding procedural advice for both.
Non-binding procedural advice for the Home Affairs staff.
Home Affairs staff, but also some other Commonwealth agencies on how to respond.
So you effectively have a backdoor portal to the ear of social media companies to ask them to remove content or to request that they remove content on a range of issues. I accept terrorism. I mean, that's a very legitimate one, of course. But somehow that has drifted into COVID-related posts.
A couple of things, Senator. Firstly, there's nothing sort of backdoor about it. It's an agreement with social media companies to either for the relevant agency, in the case of the e-Safety Commissioner, to refer matters to providers under the e-Safety Commissioner's own powers.
You see, it's the front door. It's the front, but they also have access, just like our Federal Bureau of Investigation and other DOG projects and other pseudo-agencies have backdoors. Again, the source code shows it. De-escalate, de-boost, get rid of, censorship.
Or for other agencies to refer directly through a public referral that any citizen can make to social media companies.
So I also asked the question of the numbers of matters that were being referred, and I was told that through a 5-year period, 1 January 17 to 15 December 2022. That's just because that was around the time when I made the FOI request. There were 13,636 referrals to digital platforms, 9,423 related to terrorist and violent extremist related referrals.
And God knows, I wouldn't even go okay, fair enough on that. Let's see the posts. Let's see the posts. Let's see the posts.
Okay, fair enough. But 4,213 related to COVID-19 related content. Now, in relation to those, we haven't been provided with any clarification as to what they were. Were any of these referrals relating to matters which have now been debunked and disproved, like, for example, the effectiveness of the COVID vaccines on transmission?
Senator, I would refer to one of my colleagues to deal with the question on COVID referrals, but I do want to clarify that the OCIA is specifically, as the Secretary has noted, in relation to abhorrent violent material or terrorism and extremist violence
so
content.
why has it drifted into the matter of public health then?
Well, it hasn't.
That's a lie. It was always a part. When they say public health, that doesn't mean the health for you and I. All right, that's not it. And again, we don't see these posts. In the second hour coming up, again, we play the clip of the World Health Organization actually saying the thing about transmission. We got to be very careful. We're still on YouTube, and these final moments, if you will, that's a big clip because that shows you narrative management. That shows you these guys can say and do whatever they like, whenever they like. Let me say that again. They can say and do whatever they like, whenever they like. They are protected. So, with that being said, normally I would go to the break the last commercial in the next couple of minutes. However, because the upcoming hour is about 2 minutes longer than the last 5-minute break, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to play this commercial. If you are watching over on YouTube or one of the other platforms, I want to remind everybody the second hour is free and uncensored over at RVMRumble.com. Interview with Clay Clark. A lot of things that we went over. Bilderberg stuff, WHO, great clips, great commentary. I love you guys. Check out IP Vanish. And I will see you on the flip side over in the second hour.
We love the internet, but the internet is tracking everything you do. Take control of your online privacy with IP Vanish. People with malicious intent are everywhere, watching you. Criminals can hack your Wi-Fi, while broadband providers and advertisers monitor your data. With IP Vanish on your device, your internet activity is encrypted. No one can see what you're doing. Your location, your connection, completely hidden. Protect your internet privacy today with IP Vanish.